Hello, dear students. Welcome to a new TV lesson dealing with the baccalaureate program. My name is Rimo Bidi, and today we're going to see lesson 7 of Unit 1 entitled Other Travel Agency. This lesson has been prepared under the supervision of Mrs. Lama Atwi, Inspector of English. Okay, now let's start. But let me first of all share with you our main objective for this lesson. By the end of this lesson, you will be able to write a letter of complaint to a travel agency. And in order to reach this objective, we're going to go through certain activities. So please try to concentrate and pay attention to every single word here. So let's start. Let's start by getting into this travel agency, Magnificent Tours Agency. We've got a lady here. She has got a question. Let's see what her question is. What arrangements do travel agencies make for me as a customer? Can you answer? Of course you can. So travel agencies give advice about travel plans. They get you the necessary travel documents like passport and visa. They book travel tickets and accommodation. And they plan for leisure activities. But, dear students, there's an important question to be asked here. How can I decide whether a travel agency is trustworthy or not? Can you tell me? I'm sure that you thought about some of these. So we can get advice by relatives or friends. Also, we can read some customer reviews and testimonials. What is meant by the word review? Review here is a noun, which means a report in the media in which someone gives his or her opinion about a service or a product. What about testimonial? Testimonial, as you see here, is a noun, which means a written or spoken statement praising the quality of a service. Also, we can read some reviews by specialized companies or websites. Okay, so dear students, these are the things that we can rely on to know whether a travel agency is trustworthy or not. Let's read some testimonials posted by some customers on the website of the Magnificent Tours Agency and pick out the positive points they mention about it. So here are our testimonials. We have, of course, our checklist here. We're going to read the testimonials and pick out the positive points. Let's read the first testimonial. Almost everything was up to my expectations. I would recommend you to anybody who looks for quality service at an affordable price. So let's pick out the first positive point. Yes, good. Quality service. Then, very good, we have affordable price, which means that this package tour is not too expensive. Let's move on to the second testimonial. The reality matches the description perfectly well. Thank you for the great choice of activities. Again, let's pick out the positive points here in our checklist. We have reality matches description. Also, choice of activities. Let's move on to the third testimonial here. I'm happy I booked this package holiday with you. I enjoyed every bit of the trip. The hotel was splendid and the food was exquisite. So let's pick up the positive points here. Great, splendid hotel and exquisite food. So what is meant by exquisite food? Exquisite food here means very delicious food, mouth-watering food, succulent food. So here, I advise you to use stronger adjectives. It is good later on to enrich your writing. So as you've seen here, all the testimonials mentioned here are positive, and as such, satisfaction is guaranteed 100%. And if I am one of the customers, I can post a testimonial on the websites, on the agency's website, or I can write a thank you letter. So here we have a thank you letter. Do you know how to write a thank you letter? Do you know the structure of a thank you letter? So this is what we are going to see right now. So this is a thank you letter. So if I'm sending a letter to someone I don't know, it has to be formal letter, of course. What is meant by a formal letter? A formal letter has to respect a certain layout and a certain content. What is meant by a layout? The layout of the letter is the way in which the parts of the letter are arranged or laid out. So here, you're going to label the parts of the letter. Here are the parts of the letter: complimentary clause, the body, the date, the recipient's address, the signature, the sender's address, the recipient's name or position, and the salutation. So these parts are not in the right order. Let's check where they are on the letter. So take some time to label these parts, please, and then we'll go back. Back then, so what do we find at on the right side above here? Okay, great, that's the sender's address. And what do you find below it? Of course, that's the date. Now let's move on to the right side above, to the left side above. What do you find? Great, that's the recipient's name or position. It is the manager here. And below it, of course, we have the recipient's address, the travel agent here, Meridian St. Carmel, Indiana. Then we have the salutation, or we can call it here an opening sentence. After that, we have the body of the letter. Then we have the complimentary clause, or we can call it the sign-off. Here, the sign-off depends on the way you open the letter. For example, if you know the recipient's name and you start your letter by saying, "Dear Mr. Jones" or "Dear Mr. Anderson," in this case you have to sign off by saying "yours sincerely." However, when you don't know the recipient's name and you start your letter by saying "Dear the manager," or "Dear sir or madam," or "to whom it may concern," in this case you have to sign off by saying "yours faithfully." Okay? So after that, we have the signature. Here, I'd like to draw your attention to something, dear students. In the back exam, you're given a name. Just use it. Please don't write your names and don't your addresses. So this is concerning the layout of the letter. What about the body? Look at the letter. How many paragraphs have we got here? Great. We have 3 paragraphs. Have you noticed something at the beginning of each paragraph? What do we call that? Of course, that's indentation. Actually, indentation is not compulsory in formal letters, but it will make the reader's job easier. Personally, I advise you to use it. I highly recommend it. Then, what do you have in the first part? Of course, the first part here is the introduction. In the introduction, of course, you're going to write the purpose for writing. So let's see how, and let's read. "I am writing to thank you for the professional planning of our trip. We are still talking about how it truly was a vacation of a lifetime." So this is our introduction here. Let's move on to the second part, which is the body, of course. In the body here, you're going to make and to write the main points and the main details that make you write a thank you letter. So let's read. "I was worried at the beginning, but you took the stress away and helped it create a wonderful travel experience. I greatly appreciated the communication throughout the planning process and how you kept us organized with clear schedules, local contacts, and all of our documents. The hotels were all wonderful. Excellent locations, beautiful rooms, and great breakfast to start each day. Transportation was coordinated perfectly, and we were happy with all of our flights, trains, and private transfers. We also enjoyed the tours with the knowledgeable guides. So here you see the main points that make, okay, the writer write a thank you letter. Everything was perfect. The accommodation, the food, the coordination between means of transport. That's why he wrote the letter, the thank you letter. Now let's move on to the last part here, which is, of course, that's the conclusion. The conclusion actually is a summary or what you would like the recipient to do. And here, when you write a thank you letter, in the conclusion, you're going just to thank the recipient again. So let's see how. The trip was an unforgettable experience. We are also appreciative of everything you did for us and would highly recommend you to our friends and relatives. So this is our pupils, our students, the layout and the content of a thank you letter. Now we move to something else. We've got that lady again. She has something to say to us. Let's see what it is. I saw some complaints on the website of the Magnificent Tours Agency. Aha, things have changed here. So here the lady, she saw some complaints. What is meant by a complaint here? A complaint, okay, it comes from the verb to complain. When we complain about something, you say that you are angry about something because you were disappointed by something or you were dissatisfied with something. For example, she complained about the bad service. So now we're going to read the extracts and pick those complaints out. The first extract here, of course, as usual, we have our checklist. I made the huge mistake of booking my trip through this agency. Not only did they cancel my flight without notice, but also failed to refund me. So here the first complaint, flight cancelled without informing the customer, which is of course unacceptable. Then, no refund. What is meant by a refund? A refund here comes from the verb to refund, which means the money given back to someone when not satisfied with the product or service. So it's a kind of compensation. For example, he was given a refund for the broken phone. Now let's move on to the second extract. The worst experience we've ever had. Nothing lived up to our expectations. The hotel lacks most of the facilities that we paid for and the food is awful. We've been trying to contact the agency for the last couple of days, but in vain. So here, if you noticed here, there's an expression. Maybe it's new for you. What is meant by live up to our expectation? Doesn't mean A, below what we expected, B, as good as what we expected, or C, above what we expected. What do you think? Yes, great here. To live up to one's expectations means to be as good as one expected or hoped for. For example, the package tour lived up to our expectations. So let's go back to our checklist. So hotel lacking facilities, awful food, and of course here, as it's mentioned in the extract, no assistance. So here, as you've noticed here, unfortunately, this package tour didn't live up to the customer's expectations for the mentioned reasons here. And also there's another problem, because sometimes there's always a difference between the promises said by travel agents or advertised in the brochure and the reality. So here we have the customer here. It seems very angry. Sure, he wasn't satisfied with his package tour. He is complaining about something. Let's see what it is about. So here, as you see, he reminds the travel agent of what was said before booking this package tour. So here, the travel agent, this is the utterance of the travel agents. Look here, this is a reporting verb. Then notice here we have the quotation marks. Okay, the utterance of the travel agent is, you will love the splendid view. But do you think that the view of oil refinery is splendid? I don't think so. So here, the customer is going to complain. How is he going to complain? Of course, by reporting this statement. Here, when you have this statement which is written between inverted commas, what do you call it? Of course, that's the direct speech. Now, you're going to report it. Of course, when you report here an utterance, you're going to use a reporting verb in the simple past. And when you use a reporting verb in the simple past, you must change the tenses. So here, okay, this is the reported statement. You said that we would love the splendid view, but it was horrible. Look at the changes here. You said, we have a verb, the reporting verb in the simple past. Then we added that. Of course, you don't have to put the punctuation here. And look here, in the direct speech, we have the future will plus base form. The future in direct speech changes to, of course, would, okay, plus base form. And okay, we got this complaint, of course, in the form of a reported speech. I'll say that again. You said that we would love the splendid view, but it was horrible. Now, I would like to give you a quick reminder of the reported speech that we can need it later on when we write a letter of complaint. So, of course, here are the reporting verbs. Say, tell, ask, inquire, answer, reply, confirm, complain, and so on. Then, of course, when the reporting verb is in the simple past, the tenses generally change as follows. In direct speech, when we have the simple present, it changes to simple past. I am at the hotel lobby. He told them that he was at the hotel lobby. The present progressive, past progressive. We are waiting for the guide. They said that they were waiting for the guide. For the simple past and the present perfect here, they change to past perfect. What's the structure of the past perfect here? Of course, that's had plus past participle. So here, let's start with the simple past. I missed my flight. She informed me that she had missed her flight. The present perfect, we have checked it in. They confirmed that they had checked it in. For the past perfect, it remains the same. It doesn't change. What about the future? The future will plus base form changes to would plus base form. Our agent will contact you as soon as possible. You told me that your agent would contact me as soon as possible. Of course, okay, we change modal verbs. Can changes to could, and may, just when it expresses probability, it changes to might. The same for must. Must, when it expresses obligation, it changes to had to. Also, we change some time expressions. Today or tonight, that day, that night. Now, then, at that moment. Yesterday, the previous day or the day before. Last week or last month, the previous week or the previous month. Ago, like 2 weeks ago. Before, like 2 weeks before. Tomorrow, the next or the following day. Next week or next month, the following week or the following month. This week or this month, that week or that month. Okay? Now, also we change, okay, some expressions of place. For example, here changes to there, and generally at this hotel changes to at that hotel. Now, time for practice. Let's practice. So here, as usual, there's a difference between the promises advertised in the brochure and the reality. So this is, okay, the direct speech. Travel agent, the air conditioner is working. But look at the reality. It was broken. So here, which tense do we have? Great. That's, okay, that's the present progressive. Now let's complain and let's report. You confirm that the air conditioner, what do you think? Great. The air conditioner was working, but it was broken. Okay, another example. This is the address by the travel agent. You can access the pool for free. But look at the reality. We had to pay for it. Let's complain and let's report. You informed us that we, what do you think the answer is here? We have the modal can, so can changes to could. Great. So you informed us that we could access the pool for free, but we had to pay for it. So unfortunately, dear students, these customers, contrary to the first ones, are really disappointed by the service of this package tool. Do you think they're going here to write a thank you letter? Of course not. Actually, they're going to write a letter of complaint. So now let's move on to the writing task here. Here is the topic. Amin went on a package holiday organized by the magnificent tours agency. He was disappointed by the problems faced at the airport and the hotel. So he decided to write a letter to the manager in order to complain about his spoiled holiday and ask for a compensation. Write the letter using the following information: receiver's address 12 Independence Street, Tunisia, sender's address 10 Stadium Square, Tunisia. So here, what should we do as a first step here? Of course, the first step is you must read the topic many times, all right, and underline the keywords in order to be able later on to identify the key elements of your writing. So here, let's identify the key elements of the writing. The first thing, what's the genre of our writing? Of course, here, you're going to write a letter of complaint. To whom? Who is the target audience? Who is going to read your letter? Of course, here, you're going to write a letter of complaint to the manager of the travel agency. Why? What's the purpose behind it? You're going to write the letter of complaint to the manager of the travel agency to complain about faced problems at both airport and hotel, and of course, to ask for a compensation. Then, of course, here you have to pay attention to the style used. So we know that when we write a letter of complaint, we are angry. Even if we are angry, we must stay polite and use formal English. Please, no colloquialism is used. Don't use colloquial English here, because you've seen that in the introductory unit that colloquial English is used only in conversation and it contrasts with formal English. So please don't use colloquial English. Maybe some of you would say, what is meant by colloquial English? Colloquial English means expressions like I wanna instead of I want to, expressions like I gonna instead of I'm going to. And the frequent one that we usually find it in your writings, when you want to say because, a lot of you mention cause. So please here pay attention to this point. And of course, you don't have here to use contracted forms. Now that we have identified the key elements of the writing, let's move on to the body. What to write in the body of the letter? Of course, here, you have to start by the introduction. In the introduction, you must state the reasons for writing. Then we move to the body. In the body here, there are two main parts. The first part here, you're going to write about the problems faced at the airport, like delayed flights, lost luggage, no one waiting for him at his arrival. And also, you're going to write about the second part. You're going to write about the problems faced at the hotel, like dirty room, an appealing view, and bad food. Then, of course, you must write the conclusion. In the conclusion, of course, here you're going to ask for a compensation, and of course, you're going to close your letter. Here, when you close your letter, try to use a closing remark that let the recipients know that you are expecting an answer from them. So here, this is a good example. You can use this expression, I am looking forward to hearing from you, or I'm looking forward to your reply. So this expression, you can use it with a verb plus ing, like this one, I am looking forward to hearing from you, or just you can use it with a noun, like I am looking forward to your reply. So let's write our letter. Of course, here you have to pay attention to the layout of the letter. So here above, here on the right side above, what should you put? Of course, that's the sender's address, which is mentioned in the topic, 10 Stadium Square, Tunisia. Below it we have grade, that's the date. Now let's move on to the side above of what we have here at the beginning. Of course, we have the recipient's position, which is the manager. Below it we have the recipient's address, Magnificent Tours Agency, 12 Independence Street, Tunisia. Then don't forget the opening sentence of the salutation here, dear sir or madam. So here, of course, we don't know the name of the recipient. So at the end, you have to use yours faithfully in the sign-off. Then let's move on to the body of the letter. Here is our first part. What do we call it? Okay, that's our introduction. Let's read. I'm writing this letter to convey my disappointment about a package tour I booked for my winter holiday. So what is meant by the word to convey here? Which means to show. I planned to spend my time on a fancy vacation. However, my enjoyment of the trip was spoiled by a number of problems. In fact, the reality didn't match the description made in the travel brochure here. So here, when Emin was writing his letter, he made two mistakes. Let's identify them. So I'm going to help you focus on the first line. Where's the mistake? Great. Okay, Emin, okay, put here the contracted form I'm writing. And the right answer here, it is I am writing. You mustn't use contracted form here. There's another mistake. Yes. Great. It is didn't match. Again, Emin used a contracted form, and the right answer here is did not match. So here, let's go back to our introduction here. Emin punctuate when necessary, and and he used capital letters. I plan to spend my time on a fancy vacation. Then he mentioned however, which is a linker of contrast. Then, however, after however, of course, you have to put the comma. My enjoyment of the trip was spoiled by a number of problems. Then, when he wanted to explain, he used in fact. Now, let's move on to the second part, which is the body. Remember that we have two main parts in the body? This is the first part. So let's read. The headache started at the airport. My flight was delayed and I was obliged to wait for 5 hours to get on board the following one. When I called your agent, he promised that a guide would wait for me at my arrival. Nevertheless, I had to pay for a taxi after spending 2 hours trying to file a claim connecting my lost luggage. So here, Emin was complaining about what he found at the airport. Look here, he used the reported speech very well. When I called your agent, he promised that a guide would wait for me at my arrival. So you've noticed here promise, which is a reporting verb in the simple past, and he changed the tense from the future will to would. Then, when he wanted to describe what he found, he used a linker of contrast, which is nevertheless. Of course, he put a full stop, then he started a capital letter, then of course he put a comma. Now, let's move on to the second part of the body. On top of that, you said that I would stay at a 5-star hotel. Unfortunately, this turned out to be a 3-star one with a small and uncomfortable rooms. You also said that I would enjoy the view. Let me tell you that the only view I had access to was the oil refinery there. To add insult to injury, both the quantity and the quality of food were poor. So notice here how Emin made this smooth transition. He linked the first part, to the second part, but using on top of that, which is a linker of addition. Then he started complaining by using a reporting verb in the simple past, and he made the change. Then he used unfortunately here, to complain. He added another complaint, but he linked it, with the linker of addition also. At the end, you used a good expression to add insult to injury. Are you familiar with this expression? Okay, can you guess the meaning of this expression from the context? To add insult to injury, which means that things were getting worse. So here, as you've noticed here, Amin used reported speech and he used appropriate connectors or linkers, and he knew how to punctuate and capitalize when necessary. Now we move to the last part, which is, of course, that's the conclusion. I think it's crystal clear that the service you provided did not live up to my expectations. So you see here, live up to my expectations. So here we use the word that we explained earlier. Therefore, I kindly ask you to either offer me another free package tour or give me a refund. So Amin used here a linker of result, therefore, and notice the use of the adverb kindly. As I told you, we must stay polite even when we complain. I kindly ask you to either offer me another free package tour or give me a refund. So now that we helped Amin to write his letter of complaint, so the letter now is ready and Amin can send it to the travel agency. And with this, we have reached the end of our lesson, but let's wrap it up. If you've got everything right, so now you should be able to read customer testimonials for details. You also should be able to turn sentences from the direct to the reported speech. And of course, you should be able now to write a letter of complaint. With this, we have reached the end of the lesson. Thank you so much and see you next time. Thank you for watching. Bye-bye.